I'm Rianna.
And I'm Heidi.
And we're not
theologians. You know what the verse has been on my mind is?
What is it?
It's Proverbs 25, verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, have you found honey? Eat only as much as you need, lest you be filled with it and vomit.
Oh, that's quite the verse.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy. And actually, it's been really interesting to me because I think it relates to relationships.
Huh.
Have you found honey? You know that moment when you meet somebody and you're so excited about it? And you're like, man, I gotta tell somebody I found honey. And then you read this thing, eat only as much as you need, lest you be filled with it and vomit.
I am very curious as to how this relates to relationships. Yeah. Because this is such an interesting verse. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, well, so I would have to say that I thought I found honey multiple times, but it wasn't the honey that God wanted for me.
Mm-hmm.
I dated a couple different guys.
Mm-hmm.
And
this was in your college.
Yeah,
years.
this was college.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, man, these guys are the guys. The first guy, this is the guy. This guy, loves ministry, loves, doing ministry, loves the Lord. And I thought I found honey, but it just ended up that it wasn't the right fit.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
how did you know it wasn't the right fit?
Well,
with all those
it's
green
a little
flags.
complicated.
Okay.
Yeah. But he actually started liking someone else. And so
while you were dating?
Mm-hmm. Well, not while we were dating, but kind of while we were kind of sort of maybe getting back together. Then he let me know he actually liked someone else.
Okay.
So that kind of ended that.
Mm.
Of course, I was heartbroken because I thought I'm going to marry this guy, And when you have your first serious relationship, I kind of think that's pretty normal to feel that way. But it didn't work out. And, I was super heartbroken. I was in Argentina at the time studying at the Adventist University there. But I am so glad, looking back, I am so glad that did not work out. At that time, that thought, man, I found the one. This is it, And then having your heart broken like that, you grow from those breaks. Does that mean everyone has to have their heart broken? No, I don't think that's a requirement. But if it happens to you, realize that God has another plan. You may not want to think that in the moment, but at that time, I really had to say, okay, God, I trust you.
And that was while you were going through the heartbreak. You were like, I trust you with this.
Yeah, I was.
Wow.
In fact, one of the things, I would go into the university park kind of area. The whole place is so beautiful. I don't know if you've ever been to the Adventist University in Argentina, but it's absolutely gorgeous campus. And I would have my morning devotions there. And when I was having my worship one morning, I just felt such a strong impression, and I feel like God told me, he said, Heidi, you and I go together or we don't go at all.
Oh, that's good.
That was so powerful for me.
Wow.
Because there I was in a place where I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the language. I was there to learn the language, partly because of the relationship that I had been in that had just ended. I had wanted to go there because that person spoke Spanish, and so I need to learn Spanish, But God led me there. It wasn't to be with that person, but to be with someone else. But amazing thought at the beginning of my time there when I was alone, didn't know anyone, didn't speak the language. Heidi, you and I go together or we don't go at all. Talk about kind of a defining moment in my life.
Yeah.
Because if God couldn't go with me to a place where I was going or be with me, then it was easy to say, I'm not going.
Yeah.
God and I go together,
right.
We don't go at all.
Right. And so that experience with you, your heart broken in Argentina, doing devotions, God spoken to you, how do you get from that point to where you stand now with Proverbs and relationships, and what's the journey from that point to here?
Wow. It was a journey, that's for sure. We don't have time to go into all the little pieces of it. But I will have to say that was a pivotal year for me. Being down there, learning that I could live with God and me, and we would be okay. I preached my first sermon ever in my life.
In Spanish or in English?
Spanish.
Your first sermon
I ever preached in my life was in Spanish.
Oh, my days.
And it was in a little tiny church, and I called it Cuando Dios abrazó el mundo, when God hugged the world. And again, pivotal moment. You know, you're far away from family. You don't have contact. Back then, it was $1 a minute to call home.
No.
I mean, can you imagine?
Absolutely not.
There was no WhatsApp.
Absolutely not.
There was no cell phone. I had to go across the street to this little like phone cabin kind of place, and then they would turn on a phone and you could call, and it was $1 a minute. So getting an email was like super hard. I mean, we are so spoiled now with all this technology.
Like FaceTime, WhatsApp keeps me and my family like alive.
Yeah.
Like if without those things, I wouldn't hear from them ever.
And you can look, you can even see people.
Yeah,
Back
which is such a
then,
blessing.
That was impossible.
Wow.
So you really felt like you were off the grid. You know, you were so far away from home. So God and I go together. We don't go at all. He was with me through the whole thing. So when I came back to Andrews University, I jumped right back into ministry. And for me, that has been something so important for my personal life, for my spiritual life, being part of ministry. Ministry is hard. It stretches you.
Yes, it does.
It grows you. You work with people. Sometimes you don't always get along.
And people are tough to work with.
I know. You have conflicts. Yeah. There's tough spots, but I'm telling you, there's nothing more rewarding than doing ministry. And ministry can be so many different things. It's such a wide area. But I was involved in inner city ministry, in street ministry, heavily when I was at Andrews University, and that was also another life-changing experience for me, to the point where I thought, as I'm thinking about a person who I want to be with for the rest of my life, I couldn't see myself not with someone who loved ministry.
Okay, this is such an important point, I feel like, because I remember when I was a kid, people said I should be a pastor's wife. And I was like, absolutely not. That sounds awful. Respect to pastors' wives. Not to spoil it, but I know you're a pastor's wife. But the ones that I had seen growing up, they were really great women, but they were like very different to me. They were very like demure and like quiet and all the things that I was just like, I'm nothing like that. And I remember like after my journey with Jesus and like working in ministry and doing all these things, I was like the same kind of thing. Like it's not a thing of someone putting it on me, but now I'm like, I want to marry a minister, because there's something about being in ministry full time. And when you love it, like I don't want to, and I don't think there's anything wrong with men who aren't in ministry full time, to be clear. But I personally don't think I could be with somebody for the rest of my life who wasn't serving God, like day in, day out. Like that's their job, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's going to be crazy to hear this, but the facts are I'm a pastor's kid.
Which is crazy. That is crazy.
They're like, what? You're a pastor's kid?
And you're a pastor's wife.
And now you're a pastor's wife. But I will have to say that my parents did something right. They involved my sister and I in ministry to the point where we became to love it so much that today we are both married to pastors. Both me and my sister.
Those are crazy stats,
now,
by the way.
Who would have imagined, right? But we're both married to pastors who are so in love with Jesus and who love ministry so much. Very different guys. And my sister and I are different personalities. So her husband's probably more along my personality line, and my sister's more along my husband's personality line, which makes for fun family gatherings and stuff like that. But yeah, when we get together, we got like 3 pastors in the house, you know, and 3 pastors' wives, and then we have like 4 PKs. So we have a lot of fun. We can relate, you know, to the challenges of ministry with one another. But believe it or not, when I was in college, I was looking at all the different guys and all the different careers and all that, and I thought to myself, I love ministry so much. I don't want to be a pastor. And I started out as a theology major, actually, but then I was like, wait, I don't really want to be a pastor. Then I thought, well, what am I going to do with this major? Well, I really don't want to be a teacher. And I was like thinking to myself, and the more I thought about it, I was like, actually, I would like to marry a pastor.
Yeah.
And then I realized, okay, I got to get out of religion major. And then, you know, God ended up leading me into social work. So I turned into being a social work major, which has been amazing because you study interpersonal connections, you study personalities, you know, you're focused on helping other people. So it actually is the perfect career for being a pastor's wife. So I didn't actually think of that when I went into social work. I was just trying to think of what would fit me and what I wanted to do with my life. But let me tell you, it has been amazing to have that background in ministry.
Do you think that being a pastor's wife is a calling?
I really do. I think it's a major calling. The reason why is because if your husband, your minister spouse is going to feel supported. We were talking the other day, and I told my husband, I'm like, you're like the CEO of a company. Pastors are, there's a building you're in charge of. There's a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of roles.
Teams, ministries.
Groups, elders, deacons, deaconesses, the youth, the kids classes, all the ministry leaders. And then there's there's a lot of money involved too. And you have a treasury department. So you have all these groups and people that you're working with. So there's so many plates, or whatever you want to say, that you're balancing. There's so many different areas where you're working in. It really is like being, I think, the CEO of a company.
So that makes you like the
COO? Maybe so. And so one thing I learned early on, that I initially, as a pastor's wife, a young pastor's wife, and this is kind of getting a little maybe off topic from where we started, but just kind of a tidbit for those who might be thinking, I want to be a pastor's wife. One of the things that I learned that for me did not work as a pastor's wife was being on the church board. And many pastors' wives may think that that's just fine. But one of the places where pastors may receive criticism, or if someone's going to attack their leadership in some way or tell them they don't like something or something like that, many times it'll be at that church board. And so I was part of a church board where that happened to my husband, and it was very hurtful for me. And instead of being able to come home and share with me what happened and me being able to be there for him, I was hurt too, because I was in that meeting. So I realized at that point, I will never be on the church board ever again. And I can tell you to this day, and that was probably like 25 years ago.
You've never been on a board since?
I've never been on a board since. And I'm so thankful for that. And I'm involved in so many ways in our local church. I am very involved. You know me.
You are super involved. You're in everything. You're actually over-involved sometimes.
I know.
You're in everything.
Oh man, I'm so involved.
Heidi is just
I love
involved
doing
in
ministry.
Everything. But that's the thing. It's not like, I think there's some people that get involved for the sake of being involved, but that's not what you do. Like, your involvement is because you genuinely love this church. You love the people. You love the church.
Yeah.
And I think that's clear in how you're involved in ministry too. Like, it's not just like I'm here because I'm the pastor's wife. There are pastor's wives that, like, and I agree with you. I think it is a calling, which is not a light thing. Because there's pastor's wives that just turn up and then they go home.
Yeah.
And that's never how I've seen you at any point.
Yeah.
Like, when you turn up, you're present, you're fully there. And you're just as involved as anybody else is. And I like seeing you, and I have a friend back home. Well, she's gone back home, not my home, but she's in New Zealand. She's also a pastor's wife. And I think seeing you and like Daff, like the way that you guys are as ministers' wives, I'm like, that's how I want to be. That's the calling that I want to be like. Not the ones who I saw growing up that were great, but very different in personality to me. But the ones who are able to be the like, sociable ones and like helping things move and like involved and knowing what's going on in your own church, because there's too many people I think that don't know what's actually happening in their own church, but you're involved, like you see it, you're involved, you care, and people know that you're present and accessible,
and people will come to you if the pastor's wife is involved, if she's visible,
right,
if she's doing things, people will come to you. Now sometimes those conversations should be directed to your husband, and so I've had people many times ask me questions that I have no idea how to answer, or I realize to myself, if I answer this, I'm putting myself in his role, and I don't want to do that, because number one, I don't want the stress that goes with that in my life, and number two, it's not my job. So many times I will just say, hey, you know what? I'm not involved in that. I have no idea. You're going to have to talk to him. And I do a lot of referring over to him, over to him, because people sometimes think that if you're an involved pastor's wife, you're basically the same as a pastor. And that's not the case. So you do have to have good boundaries, healthy boundaries in that. But it's been a joy to be part of ministry with my husband, to be a ministry team. And I will tell you, every place we've ever been, every church we've ever had, I have absolutely fallen in love with those people. I've given my whole heart to them. And when we've left, it's been like a funeral every single time. Because there is when you're in ministry and you throw yourself all in.
Those are your family.
Yes, they're your family.
It's
you make
awful leaving. It's so awful leaving every place.
You have so many things that you've done together, and but that's just part of the journey, and it's part of what it is, and there's a joy in that and there's pain in that. But again, you go back and think about Jesus and his ministry and all the people that he touched and where he went and what he did, and people will never be the same. When you're all in for Jesus and you're in their lives and you're in their church and you're working together for him, they'll never be the same after you leave. And that's always our prayer, that they'll remember when they think of us, they'll think that they were drawn closer to him because we were in the presence. Yeah. We were there and we were together, you know, doing ministry.
Yeah. So, honey, moment.
Okay. So, after I got back from Argentina, I was fully fluent in Spanish. And I remember going home to my parents' house. I was 22 years old, and I was not dating anyone, and I had graduated from Andrews University with my bachelor's in social work and my bachelor's in Spanish.
Period.
And yeah, like, I'm alone. I'm alone. I haven't found the pastor to marry. I'm alone. And I'm like, have nobody on the horizon. And I'm like, I went home, I cried. I'm like, Mom, Dad, like, I'm 22. I can't believe this. I don't even have a boyfriend. I don't even have anyone on the horizon. There's like nobody out there.
Did you feel like
I might never get married?
A pressure in terms of like age to be married like early on?
No,
like,
I didn't feel a pressure. I just felt like, well, my parents got married as soon as they graduated from college. So I grew up hearing that story, but I thought, how will I ever meet anyone? I'm out of college. Like, I'm ready to start working. And, you know, I was getting a job, full-time job. I was going to live with my sister. She was still studying. And yeah, I was just going to work full-time. I was going to stay in the Berrien area, you know, because there's a lot of people there my age and stuff. But the feeling of I'm out of college and like I've graduated and I'm ready to go, and like there's nobody here. Yeah.
Where is the minister?
Yeah. So it was a really amazing experience. I actually went to Camp Sable in Michigan, and I was there for a pastor's retreat. My dad, you know, at the time was a pastor in Michigan, and I was up there working at camp that summer. So I ended up staying for the retreat. I think it was helping taking care of some of the kids and doing some of the things that need to be done around camp. And I hear that there's this new Argentinian pastor. He's a youth pastor at Battle Creek. And I'm like, oh, that'd be fun to, you know, meet him. I just got back from Argentina. You know, I didn't know how Argentinian he was. That's all I heard. I just knew that he was from Argentina. I'm like, hey, I just got back. I speak Spanish. That'd be fun. I was not thinking anything beyond just meeting him and saying hi, right? And speaking some Spanish. Well, when we met, we started talking. And I was like, oh, people have been telling me about you. And he's like, yeah. He's like, people have been telling me about you too, you know? And we just hit it off. We talked for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden, he just like, lost the smile, lost everything, and just looked straight at me and said, I gotta go. And he just left, walked away, and that was like the straight end of the conversation.
Okay.
And I was left standing there thinking to myself, what just happened? Did I come on too strongly? Did he think I liked him? Did I say something?
And you were just talking to him like having a good time,
speaking in
chatting.
Spanish, telling him I had gone to Argentina, and hey, nice to meet you. You know, I didn't know the guy from Adam, right?
Right.
And later, come to find out, I had no idea at this time, but 3 or 4 months later, he recontacted me when I was actually in Argentina visiting my sister. And this conversation was so short when we first met, and he never spoke to me again for the rest of the pastor's retreat, never got near me, never looked at me, that I literally put him out of my mind. Because I thought, well, I guess I did something to offend this guy or whatever. Who cares? I'll never probably talk to him again, whatever. And I just quit thinking about him. I didn't even know him, right? He recontacts me. He's like, I don't know if you, by email. He's like, I don't know if you remember me. Yeah.
I need to start emailing again because let's bring that back.
Like, there was no texting at the time, but yeah.
Let's bring back the emails. You would have composed them in that like makes sense. Grammatically like well organized. Like let's bring back the emails.
Straight up emailed me, and I'm sitting there in the computer lab because you know there's no computers in anyone's room, no phones. I'm kind of old, right? So I'm sitting there, and my sister was by me, and I'm like, hey Mel. I'm like, do you remember this guy, Christian Martin? And she's like, oh yeah, that's that youth guy from Battle Creek. And I'm like, oh, that's the guy.
The Argentinian pastor.
The guy that walked away from me when we were talking. That was the first thought that came to my mind. And he was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. We met at Camp Sable. He's like, you know, I just wanted to reconnect and say hi and whatever. And I thought, what in the world?
Yeah,
that's
weird.
So I told her, I said, Mel, should I write him back? She's like, yeah, you should write him back and you should tell him where you are. Make him a little jealous, right? So I ended up writing him back. I'm like, hey, I remember you. How are you doing? You know, I'm in Argentina right now, but this is my sister at the Adventist University. And he writes back right away. He's like, I'm so jealous. He's like, that's so awesome. He's like, that's where I was born. And then, you know, our emails and conversations started picking up from there.
But so no one mentioned what happened at the camp, like the awkward, like that wasn't mentioned in the email thread?
No, it was. Okay. After a while, it finally came out. He was dating someone else.
Okay.
And they were having a hard time, and he didn't think she was probably the girl for him. And him and I clicked in that 3-minute conversation to the point where he was just like, I got to get out of here because this is basically, I found honey. If I get too much of it, I'm going to vomit. No, I don't think it was that. But, you know, he definitely felt the, you know, the vibes. I got some honey here. And so, yeah, he stepped away, which was the right thing to do.
Yeah, because he was respecting the relationship he was in, even though,
Yep. And when I found that out, my respect for him just really rose because I thought, you know what, if you have, after 3 minutes, such a short conversation, if you feel that something is wrong, no matter what it is, walk away. And he did that. He knew that for him personally, he couldn't keep talking to me without crossing a line that he shouldn't cross at that time.
Wow.
So by the time he emailed me, he had broken up with the girl, and he had waited for a couple months, and then he had said, multiple people had said, do you know Heidi Tower? And he had been like, he kept thinking, yeah, I met her at camp. And then another person would come up, have you met Heidi Tower? She just came back from Argentina. And people kept mentioning me to him to the point where he finally was like, you know what, I'm going to look her up. And so he looked me up and sent me that email.
Wow.
And then that's where, things
Everything got started.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So one thing I can tell you is because of those relationships that I had been through, those other 2 relationships that ended horribly, that did not work out for me, where I thought I had found honey, but I hadn't, and it really did turn into, what the verse says, it turned into vomit, right?
Yep.
Because of that, I decided, and I remember it was at that summer when I was working at Camp Asable, I told myself, I'm done.
With relationships.
This is too painful.
Yeah.
I'm done. And then I said, God, if I'm ever going to get married, you're going to have to drop the guy in my lap. I mean, you're literally going to have to bring him and put him right in front of me. And you're going to have to make some miracle happen because I obviously am not capable of picking the right one, right? I just kept making mistakes.
But that's like, I feel like that's common though. That's the thing, because it's like, we see what we see. Like, we're like, oh, I like this is cool, whatever. Yeah. But obviously, I think it can feel difficult too, because sometimes we're like, we don't want God to meddle. We're like, you don't really know me that well. I know me really well. Like, I'll pick for me. And I don't think it's an intentional like removing him, but I think it's kind of like a fear of like, who will you choose for me? So I'll choose for myself.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, even when we're making them well intentionally, like those mistakes can cause us so much pain.
Well, that had happened to me. And so I was to that point. I'm like, I'm not interested unless God is doing this thing and it's really clearly him. I'm not going to mess this. I don't want to mess this up anymore. This has been too painful for me. So around that time, I came across, now I am a big proponent of reading books about relationships, about how to be a better person. Like, I took the boundaries class, I read boundaries in dating, I've read boundaries in marriage. I mean, I've read so many books and they've all been super helpful. So about that time, I was reading books on relationships. I found this book by Tommy Nelson called The Book of Romance. What Solomon Says About Love, Sex, and Intimacy.
That's good.
So I started reading this book. This book, I literally haven't read it for about 25 years. And I was thinking about it lately. And I went on Amazon and I found a used copy and I ordered it. Let me tell you, I just read this thing again. It is so, 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 so good. I've read so many books on relationships.
But this is the one that like
coming
hits for
back, this thing is still relevant today. And so it is really awesome. But at that time, getting to know Christian and wondering, is this guy going to work out for me? He was, really hanging out and coming around and starting to show interest. And I was afraid because I thought, if I open up myself again and I get hurt again, I just don't know. I don't want to do that. So I was reading this book and I really feel like it was providential because on page 64, it says, don't press for commitment, but do press for communication.
Oh.
And a lot of times we're pressing for commitment because we're like, if they commit to me, if we get into a relationship, then we're committed. So then he must be the one or whatever. So it wasn't pressing for that. It was pressing for communication. Where do we stand with one another? Because we were in that phase of that, you know, kind of fog. Like, does he like me? Does he like me? And maybe he was thinking, does she like me? You know that weird phase where
like,
you're like
what is
hanging out, you're kind of flirting with each other, and when you see each other, you're super excited, getting to be together and see one another, but yet there hasn't been any kind of like formal conversation, there hasn't been any commitment, and you're just wondering. And sometimes people go on in that wondering phase for like months and months, and even it can go for a year, and they're like, well, yeah, I think it's got, and then you go to them and you're like, well, why don't you find out? And they're like, oh, no, I can never do that. And as a girl, I was kind of like thinking, I can't ask that question. That would be like forward. That would be way too forward. Like the guy would be like, he'd probably be like, what's your problem? You know, why are you asking me that? You know, that's my job to make some formal. But in this book, it was so powerful for me because it says that you're not asking for any form of commitment, but you would like to ask the person to communicate their feelings to you. As in, do you like being with me? Am I the kind of person you would consider spending the rest of your life with? Do you think there's any possibility for this relationship to move to a deeper level? And I read those questions and I was like, I'm doing that.
Period.
I am doing that because I am not going to go through another whole deal only to find out at the end, oh, we were just friends.
Yeah.
Oh, I never knew you felt that way. Oh, really? Wow. And I thought if I asked him today, he was going to come see me, and I was like, if I ask him that question and he says, oh no, I'm so sorry. No, we're just friends. I thought I could literally walk away, never talk to him again, and not be angry, not be bitter, not be resentful, because I have no regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Period. What do you feel like is a reasonable time frame though? Because I feel like there's a fear of like moving too fast and being like, what are we when there's like nothing actually going on?
Yeah.
But what is a time frame that is reasonable, wise, doesn't freak anybody involved out? Like what do you think?
Well, like I think that if a person is hanging out with you alone, and I don't mean alone in an inappropriate way. I'm just saying like they're wanting to be with you, like to talk and hang out and go places and do stuff together. Like he was coming up to see me for like maybe the third time at my parents' house, because that's where I was at the time. And he was like, hey, I'm going to stop by. We had gone out to eat, and there had been no formal like, hey, I'm interested in you. You know, it was kind of like
hanging out together.
Hanging out.
Okay.
And so he's coming up, and I was like, you know what? I can't keep doing these kind of conversations and hanging out and stuff like that if I don't know that there's some kind of something going on his side. There's something going on with me. Absolutely. but if this is not something that is going on with you,
it is not mutual, then like let's end this.
So I really don't think like a time frame. I mean, you know, if you're casual friends and you're just seeing each other in groups and you're just running into each other. But if you're having more and more conversations alone with one another, and you seem to be clicking and connecting, and he's calling you and you're calling him, I think it's time to get some clarity. And a lot of times we're afraid for that because we become so emotionally attached to the person. I think it's especially girls that are really, maybe guys too, but we get emotionally attached pretty quickly, especially if we've spent time talking and connecting. That's what really speaks to women. Maybe not as much to guys, but it really speaks to women.
Right.
Even after you get married, that's like a huge piece of the relationship that if it stops, it hurts. And that's where people fall apart, you know, because they say, well, you know, a lot of women complain, you don't talk to me anymore. You don't talk to me anymore, and yet you want to be intimate with me. So I'm talking after you get married here. But for a woman, and this is after you get married, emotional intimacy and those deep conversations and that kind of thing. There's a book called The 4 Laws of Marriage. He equates that almost at the same level as sexual intimacy for a woman. Not for a man, but for a woman. So that emotional connection is massively significant for a woman. So if that's happening, if you're having that emotional connection, a lot of conversation and all of that, you need to find out. Because you're getting attached emotionally, and it's a very serious thing. And so you need to find out where's this going? What's this? So you can end it, but without getting hurt.
Yeah.
Even though that's really hard, I decided to do that. Do it before you get super attached.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
it earlier than later, because you'll save yourself a lot of pain.
So you go to Christian and you're like,
So I went to him.
hey,
Mhm.
here are the questions.
Yep. And it says, in the book, it says, although you aren't in the position to either expect or demand a commitment at this point, you can certainly probe for information. If the man is totally unwilling to express his feelings, you have your answer.
Period.
There it is.
Period.
There's no interest.
Because indecision is also decision.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Either he isn't willing to communicate with you or he isn't feeling anything, both of which mean he is not emotionally involved in the relationship. And so that's the time when you can, walk away. When I asked him, I said, I have one question for you. When he got to my house, I said, I need to ask you a question. I said, this is really weird. This is out of character for me. This feels very uncomfortable. But I said, I just need to ask you one question. And he's like, yeah, sure. Yeah. All smiles and everything. And I'm like, I said, do you like me? Do you have any interest in me beyond friend level? And he looked at me, he was silent for a couple seconds, and he's like, yes, I like you. And he just kept saying, I like you. I was like, okay, that's good. That's good.
You're like, all right, got it.
That's all I needed to know. I remember telling him, that's all I needed to know. You don't have to say anything else. That's all I needed to know. And I had prayed before I did that. I was like, God, I'm just going to do this. This is scary. He could just walk away and never see him again. But I would have no regrets. And I wouldn't be hurt. I wouldn't be angry. I wouldn't be resentful. I wouldn't be bitter. But when he said, yes, absolutely, I really, really like you, I was like, okay, that's all I needed to know. And that gave me a peace in my heart that God was answering my prayer. And he was telling me, you can move forward with this. You're safe, So for me, that was super, super important. And again, kind of going back to the verse, if you find honey, eat just enough.
Right.
So
don't push for commitment at that point.
Exactly. We had eaten just enough honey
to know that we can keep eating
the honey. We can keep eating the honey, but slowly.
Right.
Because courtship shouldn't be rushed. You should still, get to know one another. There's so many things that people wake up, I'm married, you do what? You like what? You don't this? What? There's just these things. If I would have known that, the honeymoon wears off and they don't know this stuff. You got to find out the facts, find out the details, the little stuff. And the big things. And if your life is congruent, great. If things roll together, or if the person is willing to make some changes. There was a big one for us. I'm a lifetime vegetarian and my husband is not. And so I couldn't cook a piece of meat if you told me to. I don't even know how to do it, But that was something for me that was really significant. And he knew I was vegetarian, and I was just praying about it because I didn't want to be like, you have to be a vegetarian. So I just started making it a matter of prayer, because you want a genuine person. You don't want someone making a bunch of changes just because of you.
No. Not on that level either, because it's such a deep personal and lifestyle thing. That's not something that you should change for
wear off,
else.
Or they could become resentful later on. So I really didn't make it much of a matter of conversation with him. One day, I just prayed a lot. I prayed a lot, and I made him a whole bunch of really yummy vegetarian food.
He said, faith without works is dead.
He loved my food. He was like, oh, I love this food, right?
And you're like, yeah, it's vegetarian. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it was so awesome, because one day he came, and he's like, guess what? And I was like, what? And he's like, I just ate my last Big Mac. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And it didn't dawn on me what he was saying. And then he's like, no, I'm a vegetarian. I'm like, you're what? He's like, I'm a vegetarian now. I'm like, yay! I said, are you serious? Are you really serious? He's like, yeah, I'm serious. He's like, I'm done eating meat. And I was just like, this is amazing. God is in this. These were little signs along the way, or maybe big signs. God will keep on giving you signs along the way. The green lights, if you're supposed to keep proceeding. Yeah. He'll keep doing that. And you might have a yellow light every once in a while, a caution, hey, and you have to talk through things. Well, I don't know about this, or, let's talk about that. Let's see what, how we can come to an understanding, or or maybe they come to realize that's something I need to change in my life, you know, or maybe you need to change something.
Yeah.
You know, you come to the point
Yeah.
where you're like, hey, I need to work on that. There will always be things to work on. There will always, always, always be things to work on. And I can definitely say that the areas that you struggle with in your dating relationship or your courting relationship will probably be the same areas that you struggle with the rest of your marriage. So you need to look at those things and say, can I live with this for the rest of my life?
So my question also to you is, what about those people who are chronic overthinkers
Yeah.
and need God to show them a sign, like clear signs for like absolutely everything? Like, I will not move forward until I have this sign. I will not progress. I will not ask her. I will not talk to him until I know for sure. Like, how does that fit into this whole theology of relationships?
Yeah. Well, I think that we can be so particular and so perfectionistic that we're not willing to take a risk. Every relationship is a risk. So when I said I'm done, you know, about the other 2 relationships and I felt hurt and all of that, I was done trying to drive my own thing. But at the same time, we can't be so, what's the word, so hardcore or headstrong on that we're not willing to even, you know, get to know somebody that may have some differences from us and get to know their heart, you know. Because honestly, if I would have been like that, I wouldn't be married to Christian today. Because I would have said, oh, he eats meat. I can't date him. I can't get to know him. I like him, but I can't like him because he eats meat. But you know, God wanted to do some work in his life in that. And I mean, he took care of it. So there's things that, you know, we have to trust God with, and we have to say, okay, Lord, you've opened this door. I'm going to cautiously step through it. And that's a little hard to do because when you taste honey, you really like it and you want more of it, right? So you have to take your time and get to know the person. So I don't know if that's a super clear answer. Everyone's journey is different and everyone's personality is different. And I think some of us are more prone to just fly into things and not think anything through. And then other people like me, I'm a big analyzer and I'm a big thinker and I'm a big worrier sometimes, you know, worry about, oh no, what if this, what if that, you know. But add a little honey to it and you kind of relax a little bit. It helps you to move forward. So now that being said, if there is a sexual addiction, for me, that would be like a super, super, super massive red flag.
Yeah.
And I would be extremely cautious. I would probably run the other way.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about porn addiction. I'm not talking about, you know, those kind of things. I'm talking about some of the other, you know, issues that maybe not as, you know, they're still important, but maybe not as like
pressing. Yeah.
But obviously there are people that God can heal anything. That's another, I'm a firm believer in that God can change anyone. God can heal anyone. You just have to know that if you're entering into a relationship with someone who has that kind of a struggle, they may struggle with that for the rest of your marriage and on and off. And so you have to be prepared and get as much information as you can.
Yeah, I think communication is key, right? Because if that is your struggle, I don't think there's any shame in, we all have different struggles, right? But the point is that like communicating that very clearly and openly. Like this is something that I struggle with and I want you to know that because I want this to be transparent because you know the whole thing of like people find out later and that's a whole other thing. Like that's going to cause way more damage than if you revealed it at the beginning. And being intentional about communicating, like working through that, not expecting your spouse, if you are a man or a woman who has a struggle, to be the fix for your addiction.
You need to have an accountability partner.
Right.
You need to be in therapy. You need to be getting help for that. And be willing and open to share everything. There should be one thing that we have always lived by in our marriage is transparency. There are no secrets between us. There's nothing off limits. There's complete transparency. There's nothing that Christian doesn't know about me. I'm not hiding anything from him. There's no passwords. There's no websites. There's no, like, his computer's open to me. His phone is open to me. He's not hiding anything. When I touch his phone or his computer, he's not, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you looking at? Where are you going? He's never, ever, ever even one time done that. Same with me. He can go anywhere. I don't care. There's no, like, secrets, or some people say, oh, don't tell my wife this, or don't tell my husband that, or no, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
I mean,
those things are red
one.
flags too, right? If you're trying to hide things from your partner, it's like, what are
If
you
you're
hiding?
noticing dishonesty, or no, we can't talk about that, or oh, that's an area of my life I can't share at this point, no. There's got to be transparency in a relationship in order for it to grow and to be healthy. So that's one of the big things that we say. There are no secrets in our family, in our marriage. So yeah, we just slowly started moving forward, getting to know each other more and more, and realizing that, his dreams, my dreams, what we want to do with our life just really matched. And then the next thing he did was he said, hey, he was in the seminary at the time, and he said, I'm going to be assigned this little church plant. He's like, would you be willing to start coming with me every Sabbath and working with me there? And I was just waiting for that. I was like, wow, I'm going to get to do this, So I was working in inner city ministry in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And so I remember my last Sabbath there, and I told everybody, hey, I'm going to start working in another ministry, and it's been great working with you guys, but I'm taking off. So then we started working together, and I would play the piano, every Sabbath and help out in any way that I could. I made food for the fellowship meal. We would go up there. We'd be there pretty much for the whole day. Sometimes we'd take a walk in the afternoon, or we'd go visit people, and just being part of his ministry and getting to know him there and hear him preach and how he did things. And it just grew from there. Every Wednesday we'd go to prayer meeting up there. It was almost an hour drive.
Wow.
So it gave us a lot of time to talk there and on the way back, and just to get to know, how he functioned and what he did as a pastor. But yeah, that little church was with us through our dating relationship. And then while we were there, we got engaged. And then they helped plan our wedding, and they were part of our wedding. They all came to our wedding, and so they were part of our marriage. So that little church saw us through all of that. And it was just a beautiful way to start a relationship, working in ministry together. And we would, we'd pray together and do a lot of fun things. We'd run together, we just did life together. We both lived in Berrien Springs at the time. So he was in school, I was working full time that year. Just getting to know each other, spending time. You can't get to know someone if you're not spending time with them. The best way to spend time with them is in person. And pray together, and have devotions together, hang out together, eat together, cook together, exercise together, do everything you can together, do ministry together. And we got to the point where he was like, you know what, I'm going to Korea. That's where his parents lived. I'm going to Korea for Christmas and New Year's. And he called my parents up and he said, I love Heidi. He asked my parents if he could ask me to marry him, which that's still a thing. It should still be a thing. So he asked them if he could take me to Korea for Christmas, and I had no idea that he was doing all this. He never even told me about it.
That's fun. That's really fun.
And then he took me out to the St. Joseph Pier. I don't know if you've seen it or anything, right there on the lake.
I think I might have seen it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he took me out there, and we were sitting on the rock, watching the waves crash and everything. And it's like, well, I have something to tell you. And he's like, I want you to meet my parents. I was like, oh, wow, really? He's like, yeah. And I knew they lived in Korea. He's like, so I'm taking you to Korea for Christmas.
Wow. And
I was like, what? And then I said, what about my family? He's like, oh, don't worry, I've already told them. They said yes. So that's another thing. My parents liked the other guys that I dated. They liked them. But I always sensed a hesitation. There was always a hesitation. There was always like a little bit of like,
not sure.
Yeah. When they met Christian, there was like no more hesitation. It was the first time my parents were super excited about a guy that I dated. And I was like, this is weird. This is weird. They really like this guy. They loved Christian. They loved him so much. So that's another thing, to look at. How does your family feel about the guy? Do they love the guy? If you have a solid family, good parents that are solid, they love the Lord, they're going to have an opinion. And you'll notice. I was very well aware of the difference in the way that they responded and reacted to Christian. So yeah, we ended up going to Korea. And he had already asked my parents. I did not have any idea we were going to get engaged there, but everybody knew but me. Everybody knew but me.
You didn't even have like a suspicion?
No, I did not even have a suspicion. But yeah, so we got engaged on Christmas Eve in Seoul, Korea. And it was really, really just an awesome moment. He read me Proverbs 31.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the whole thing. And then he turned to 1 Corinthians 13, and he read that. And he said he wanted to love me like that.
Wow.
And he told you're gonna make, I'm just gonna get teared up
I'm
here.
going to get emotional, Heidi. Like, this is...
After he read Proverbs 31, he said, that's the kind of woman you are.
Wow.
And then he turned to 1 Corinthians 13, and he said, this is the kind of man I want to be and how I want to love you.
Period.
And I was like, wow. You know?
Wow.
You know, God is so good. That was just a really, really special way to get engaged. We were at this Korean park. It was so cold. So cold. It was probably like zero degrees. It was ultra cold. We were freezing out there. And then he got down on one knee and asked me to marry him, and I said yes. And then we hugged and kissed, and we were so excited. But I was like, I'm freezing cold, and I have to go to the bathroom. And we were like, let's go. So here we are walking down the streets, and there's nothing open. Nothing is open. We are frozen. And I started praying, Lord, we have to get inside a building. We were going to get frostbite. All of a sudden, we see this bakery kind of place that looked like it was open. We grabbed the door, and it opened. We went in, and the people come out. They speak no English, and they're like, we're closed. They're like showing, like, we're closed, and we're just like, we're freezing. We're, you know, and they're like, it's okay, it's okay. So we sat down at a table. We asked them for the restroom. While I went to the restroom, he's communicating to them somehow in signs or whatever that he's just asked me to marry him. And they get all excited. And when I get out of the bathroom, there's a cake on the table.
Oh my goodness.
And there's goblets with fresh homemade juice.
Oh my goodness.
And they're like celebrating us. They're so excited and saying congratulations and eat and drink, and they're just like we made their day. It was actually, I said Christmas Eve, but it was actually Christmas Day in the evening. It was already dark. So yeah, we got warmed up in there. We had our celebratory cake and everything free. They never charged us a penny. They were so excited. We were so excited. And then we made our way back to walk back to Christian's parents' place, and they were all excited. So, you know, what a cool surprise.
No, that is awesome.
I know.
That is awesome.
Really
and I think that one of the things that at least resonates with me, and I'm sure with many young women my age, is the thing of intentionality. I think that there are many guys that are interested or, you know, they're kind of floaters, but they aren't intentional with their affections and their efforts. And what I hear from your stories, you're telling this whole story, like there's so many beautiful things that I mean, we could spend like hours talking about how beautiful this is. Like the fact that he says, not be Proverbs 31 woman, but you are that. And then says, this is who I want to be. And it's a picture of Christ's love for us, which is literally Ephesians 5. Like that's beautiful, right? But I think the fact that everything that was done from the moment of taking you to meet his parents, from asking your family to both take you and to marry you, finding the right time, the right place, like all those, like that takes a lot of intention and thought. And I think, I mean, I know obviously as a woman, like we appreciate intention and thought.
Yeah.
Like I think some men don't realize how easy it is to make us happy. You just have to be intentional.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like many of us are not complicated or like super specific. It's just that we want you to know that you put intention and thought behind whatever you did.
You notice.
Yeah. Like you heard a detail and you picked up on that and you ran with it and you did something, you know?
Yeah.
Even the fact that he's communicating with people who don't speak English, that he was engaged and gets you a cake, like that's intentionality.
Yeah.
And I think that is what I see, or I feel at least, is lacking in a lot of the young men that are like on the scene. I'm like, you guys are not intentional with your efforts.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything that he did, and he still continues to be that way. He's an intentional kind of guy. He even saved like of his own. And you know, pastors that are like interns and in school, they get like a part-time salary. They don't get a full salary. Somehow he saved $7,000 for our honeymoon.
Wow.
Now, whoa, how do you, that was like back when, but like probably that's double the amount of money today. And he got my passport. He said, I need your passport. I'm planning our honeymoon. I gave him my passport. I had no idea. He's like, it's a surprise. It's all going to be a surprise. I had no idea where we were going.
He just saved it from his like small salary.
Yes. And he's debt-free. Debt-free. No debts. And he's saving money. I mean, like, wow. So it was a big, huge surprise. First, we went to Paris, the most romantic city in the world, right? They say. And we went all over Paris, Versailles, Eiffel Tower, and all that. And then the most interesting destination, probably a destination that every pastor would want to go to, Egypt.
Wow.
So we ended up at Mount Sinai and the Sinai Peninsula and the Red Sea.
Did you climb it? Mount Sinai?
We should have, but we didn't. He wanted to, and I was wimped out because we had to get up in the middle of the night, and I never climbed a mountain. Anyway, if I ever go back again, believe me, I will be climbing that mountain. I will be going on Mount Sinai. But we did go to the base of it. We went to the monastery. We went all around there. We rode camels. It was just amazing. And we saw the pyramids and everything, but very intentional. And I think you bring up a really, really good point. Women want to be courted. Yeah. They want to feel special.
We want romance. I'm sorry, we want romance.
They love it.
Like emails, handwritten letters, like just little
notes
gifts.
in the car.
Please.
Yeah.
Romance us. No,
table.
because Heidi, like, I genuinely feel like right now, in this age of convenience and ease, people are losing the art of romance.
They are.
Like, the whole idea of making efforts, being intentional, but like doing special things to show affection in like thoughtful and kind ways. Like, we are not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, especially as the church, like especially as the body of Christ, and I know you can vouch for this too, like Jesus is so romantic. The things that Jesus does for us to show his love for us are intentional. They are specific. The things that sometimes Jesus does for you when you're like, you're going through a tough time and he does something for you, they will floor you with how romantic and sweet they are sometimes.
That's right.
Why aren't men being romantic like that? Why are they doing it?
I think we need to encourage our men to spend time in the Word.
Tap
and spend
into
time with God. I mean, like,
tap into that source of romance.
And I also think that men need to remember that they are enough. They are worthy. They are able to do it. They have what it takes.
Yes.
You are not a wimp. You are not a failure. You are not somebody who no one likes. You know, you are worth it.
Exactly.
And I think the struggle with self-esteem is real. And any kind of, you know, if I'm a licensed clinical social worker now, so of course I believe in counseling. I believe in working on the areas where we're struggling. I believe in learning how to be more intentional. I think we should read books and see therapists or do whatever it takes to get accountability partners, get mentors, you know, see somebody who has a marriage that you admire and go talk to them, interview them. Hey, what do you do? How do you romance your wife? What do you do? Today, you know, we have conflicts. Even the things aren't always perfect with our situation. Yeah. We are growing still. We have moods. We get into arguments and discussions and, you know, disagreements. So we're having a disagreement and we were talking about it, you know, and just really frustrated and everything like that. And after all of that, and me not being the best self that I could have been, he texted me today. He said, I choose to lovingly care for your heart today. And then he put the praying hands. And I was like, that broke me. I was like, that is God speaking through my husband to my heart and caring for me. And he could say that after the conflict that we'd had and the frustrations that I'd had and the things that I had said. I choose to lovingly care for your heart today. And that softened my heart. And I was able to feel forgiveness. And my frustration went down because I knew that when he communicated that to me, it was sincere and genuine. And that's not always easy, but I think that, you know, in the Bible in Ephesians, you know, we see Jesus saying, love like I love the church. The church is a mess. The church is a mess.
Yes,
so like, get ready because your wife will probably be a mess too. In many ways, you know, we struggle. There was a funny book that somebody brought to the church a couple weeks ago to potluck, and it said, men, how to understand women, or something like that. And then the book, I don't know if you saw it, but somebody gave it to Christian. Every page is empty. He was like flipping through it. It was so hilarious. But I was like, oh man, you know, this is what it feels like sometimes. for men. They feel like we're just like they're never gonna be able to figure us out. But I will tell you that the most softening things that a man can do is to actually care for, just hold her. Just listen. You don't have to fix it. Just listen. Just ooh, kind of like what you're doing with me right now. Like, just make those noises and just be there. It doesn't have to, just listen. She's not expecting anything else. Just care and listen. And it's really not so complicated if you think about it, I think, through those lines. This book is just so excellent. I love it because it goes through the Song of Solomon.
Okay.
And it breaks down the entire
Fantastic book
of the Song of Solomon.
I need this book.
You've got to get this book.
Okay.
It is unbelievably excellent, and you will be blessed. It's just so good. The other thing is that I would highly encourage those who are dating. Some people are like looking for the right person, but they're not dating a person that they would marry. And that, for me, is like the craziest idea ever, because you should never date someone that you wouldn't consider marrying. And if you get to the point in the relationship that you're like, I would never marry this person, then break up
with them.
For crying out loud, don't continue on. End it. Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
The other thing is, work on becoming the person that the person you want to marry will be attracted to.
That's the one.
That is really, really important.
Because I feel like we all have lists.
Yeah.
We're all like, I want someone who's like this, and this. It's like, but with somebody who
what
is all those things, would they look at you?
What's the kind of person who I want to marry looking for?
Right.
Yeah.
And who do I want to be? Like, rather than like having a list of like, here are all the things I want to see in a man. What are all the things that I want to be as a woman? Like, who are all the people, what are all the things, traits that I want in my own heart? And how can I work with God on becoming that person?
Yeah. So I think that's really, really important. Become the person during these seasons of singleness, becoming the person, that God wants you to be, becoming the person that the person you're looking for would be attracted to, and always having your personal devotions. I am so thankful that I married a man who gets up in the morning many times before I do. This morning I woke up and I put my hand over and he was gone. I know what he's doing. He's having his worship. He's in the Word. He's praying. And sometimes he's there, and but many, many, many mornings he's up before me. And that brings a security, to my heart to know that he's starting his day out with God. I don't have to ask him. I don't have to beg him. He's the spiritual leader of our home, and he's taking it very seriously, and he's getting up in the morning and starting his day out with God.
Yeah.
And so personal devotions, are so important. And you know what? I'm always reading the Bible. I'm studying my Sabbath school lesson. But the other thing I'm always doing is reading a relationship book along with that, because I still need to grow. There's still areas of my life that even after I've been married for our 25th wedding anniversary is coming up in May. And even though I've been married almost 25 years, I still have areas where I'm struggling. I still have things I need to grow in. I need to listen better. I need to be more forbearing. I need to be less judgmental. There's things that I need to work on in my heart. I need to communicate better. I need to listen better. There's things that I know that I need to work on. So I'm always, reading. And that's actually why I read this book again, because I was like, this book was so impactful for me back then. And honestly, came right through again. This morning I was reading and was really blessed by the part on conflicts and how to resolve conflicts. I mean, we cannot get enough of the goodness of God. And there's a whole section in Song of Solomon on conflict resolution.
Yeah.
There's a whole chunk in there about that. So it really goes, the Song of Solomon goes from the minute that she sees the guy before they ever start dating through their dating relationship, courtship, engagement, marriage, and conflict resolution. So the book of Song of Solomon, it's all very poetic.
But it's a complete guide to relationships.
A complete guide, and it's all broken down in here, and that's what I love about it, because he takes it all, and you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Super good stuff.
I think that part of the fear that many of us have is like, oh, you're over spiritualizing it. And like, it's like, that's not that, it's just like a relationship thing. Like, yeah, you have to over spiritualize it. Like, God doesn't have to be involved in everything like that.
Yeah.
But I think that, I mean, you and I both know that when you let God into your life in one area, you want him to be in every area.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, you just said, right, that about this was the guy that God was leading you to in all the little and big ways. And there are people that you picked before that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of freedom, as much as it feels very terrifying, obviously. There is a lot of freedom in allowing God to make that choice for us, which doesn't mean doing nothing.
Well, and by the way, it's so much fun.
Right.
It's not like we were all serious all the time. We had a ton of fun.
Right.
And it wasn't like I was analyzing every little thing all the time. I just wanted our kind of like our goals and stuff to match
be aligned,
up, and that we would be on the same path with Jesus. You know, personalities are different and stuff, but God was definitely the center of our relationship, and at the same time, we were having so much fun. You know, so it was a win-win, and you can't get better than that.
Yeah, yeah. And I like how you bring fun in, because I think, like, sometimes it can feel like its own set of like tasks.
Yeah.
Like the way that we will be like praying and fasting for a husband or a wife, and it's like, are you enjoying dating the person that you're dating? Like, do you have fun with the person that you're dating?
Yeah.
Like, is it just like this looks right on paper, this is all, like, do you like them?
Yeah.
Do you feel good when you're with them? Like,
if you don't, go somewhere else, leave.
Like, just the whole thing of like, I have to do it like this, it has to be right, I have to get it good. Like, do you enjoy being with the person that you're like dating?
Yeah. Oh, we love being together. We still do. We're getting ready to take a trip for our 25th anniversary, and we're going to go camping, and we're actually going to have we're heading to Greece, but we're going to stop over in Iceland and go see some of I'm looking forward to it, because it's just going to be me and him, and we're going to look at waterfalls, we're going to drive around, and we're going to eat meals, we're going to shop out of the grocery store, we're just going to probably rent like a camper and drive around Iceland and see the sights, and it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking forward to that. He's a lot of fun to be with. Even 25 years in, he's still fun to be with.
What is like one salient piece of advice that you would give to young people, men and women, who are hopefully and expectantly searching for the person they could spend the rest of their life with?
Well, I would say never give up. Because not only do you want to have a never give up mindset, not only a never give up mindset about meeting the person that God has for you, but also once you meet that person, you know, not everything is going to be roses and perfection and all that. So even after you meet that person, you have to still maintain a never give up mindset, because you will go through valleys. You will go on mountaintops. It will be up and down. There will be good times and bad times and hard times and sick times. And so you have to have a never give up mindset, no matter what you're doing in life. God and I go together, or we don't go at all, and we're going together. Doesn't mean we're sitting and just waiting. No, we're going. You're married already to Jesus. You're not alone. You're already married to him. And he is a never give up kind of guy. And so he's going to take you through all kinds of things, and you're going to say, I'm never going to give up, because I'm with him, and God's going to lead me to the person, whoever that person is, and I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to get discouraged. I'm just going to keep on moving forward. And no matter what in life, we always have to keep moving forward and never give up, and never give up on God. And always tell yourself, I can trust Jesus. I can trust Jesus. He has never failed me once, and he never will. And that's some of the things that I've said. Now I'm parenting 2 teens, and I tell myself, don't give up. You're going to get through this. In a year, it's not going to look like this. It's going to be a lot better. And you'll look back on this, and you'll say, wow, God, you brought me through that. Never give up, and I can trust Jesus.
I'm Rianna.
And I'm Heidi.
And we're not
theologians.